A child runs along the shoreline, while a parent lifts a phone for one quick photo. Sand on small feet, salt in the air, a bright, ordinary moment saved away families do every day, posted online with no reason to fear what comes next. But somewhere behind a locked Facebook page with a harmless name, that same image is pulled into a hidden group and passed from screen to screen. Strangers study it, comment on it, trade it, and the photo is only the beginning. Behind the public posts and cheerful profile pictures, thousands of members are sharing coded messages, censored previews, and direct routes to far darker files. Then one small mistake shatters the secrecy. A photo of a child from a neighborhood street, and in the corner, a license plate. The image leads somewhere real. This is the case of Lolly Candy. In early 2017, a hidden network began to surface inside Indonesian social media. At first glance, it looked like another private Facebook community built around coded language, locked posts, and familiar usernames. But inside that space, the activity was far darker. The group was called Lolly Candy, and behind its harmless-sounding name, thousands of members were gathering to trade sexualized images and videos of children. What made the group especially disturbing was not only the content itself, but the scale. In a short span of time, the membership grew from around 6,000 people to more than 8,000. The volume of material moved even faster. Photos and clips spread to the group in massive numbers, eventually reaching roughly 10,000 files. The content ranged from stolen images taken from public accounts to explicit material involving real children. Some members uploaded censored previews, while the uncensored versions were stored elsewhere and shared through private contact. The people inside the group were not random strangers passing through. Many returned daily. They learned the rules, used code words, and adapted to platform filters. They knew how to stay active without drawing attention. If an image was too explicit, certain areas had to be covered. If a link might trigger automatic removal, it had to be broken apart with spaces. Certain terms could not be typed directly. Members were expected to prove they were contributing real material and not simply re-uploading from somewhere else. In many cases, they added captions naming the location, the day, or the child's connection to them. The goal was to convince others that the file was authentic. As the group expanded, it became clear that Facebook was only the front door. Behind that visible layer, members were also operating in WhatsApp and Telegram groups, where the content became even more graphic and the conversations more direct. Those private channels connected users across dozens of countries. The shift was deliberate. Facebook removed posts too often and banned accounts too quickly. Encrypted chat apps offered privacy, speed, and the chance to delete material before anyone else could reach it. The network became harder to trace the moment it stepped into those smaller rooms. At the center of the Indonesian side of the network was a man named Wawan. He came from a poor background and had been raised by his aunt. He never finished elementary school. Much of his life had been shaped by internet cafes, screens, and online worlds that gave him a sense of identity he could not find elsewhere. As a child, he spent hours in warnet shops. He taught himself how to move through forums, games, and hidden spaces online. Over time, curiosity led him deeper. Eventually, he entered corners of the internet where child sexual content was normalized, coded, and traded as if it were just another niche interest. For Wawan, the internet offered more than access. It offered status. In ordinary life, he was quiet, withdrawn, and limited by poverty. Online, he could become important. Inside groups like Lolly Candy, he could gather followers, manage access, and be seen as someone with reach. He built connections with users from other countries. He joined international circles and helped affiliate the Indonesian group with wider networks. That role gave him pride. Even when he tried to distance himself from the full meaning of what he was doing, he remained deeply involved in the machinery that fed the trade. Wawan claimed the original group had begun as a place for anime and game discussion. He said he had only rebuilt it after the first version disappeared, and old members asked for a replacement. But whatever harmless purpose may have existed at the beginning had long been buried. The new group carried adult labeling, private rules, and content flows that revolved around the sexual exploitation of children. It no longer drifted in that direction. It had arrived there. Other administrators helped keep it alive. Sina was one of the people closest to Wawan. She had met him online through shared interests and stayed near him inside the group structure. Her loyalty pulled her deeper into the same space. Ty became one of the most active administrators, regularly posting images and videos, and gaining recognition among members for uploading material considered real and original. Dean was also tied into the core management. Together, the admins filtered activity, approved users, removed the wrong kind of posts, and made sure the group stayed useful to those inside it. The network functioned through mixed motives. Some members wanted power inside the group. Some wanted attention. Some hoped for small payments, mobile credit, or minor profits from links and traffic. Others were driven by direct sexual interest in children. In practice, these motives overlapped. A person could tell himself he was only chasing clicks or managing chaos, but the results stayed the same. Images of children were collected, sexualized, traded, and consumed. Every post helped grow the audience. Every act of moderation kept the market alive. Many of the files shared in the group came from public places. Children walking on a beach, children at a zoo, children on neighborhood streets. A camera would catch them in an ordinary moment. Then the image would be pushed into a space where strangers discussed them sexually. Other material came from social media accounts belonging to families who had no idea their children had been taken and turned into objects inside that network. Even more disturbing were the files that appeared to come from direct access. Some members bragged about photographing neighbors, relatives, and children they knew personally. Some shared footage of abuse they had carried out themselves. The conversations inside the group revealed how far it had gone. Members exchanged advice on how to approach minors, how to keep them quiet, and how to avoid visible injury. They discussed children not as human beings, but as targets. Some boasted that certain jobs made access easier. Some described the thrill of proximity alone. The content was not only about storage and exchange. It was also about grooming, planning, and mutual encouragement. This was the environment Walwyn helped build and protect. He later insisted he was not a pedophile and described himself as normal. He claimed he had grown tired of managing the group, tired of kicking users, tired of constant complaints. He said he had stopped paying attention. But the network did not run itself. The structure around Lolly Candy bore the marks of deliberate management. Rules had to be written. Replacement groups had to be created. Members had to be let in. Material had to be organized, redirected, and stored. Walwyn remained central to that architecture. He also had reasons to keep the machine running. At times, he used the group to spread game referral links through advertising services that paid tiny amounts for clicks. The money was small, barely enough for mobile data. Other administrators sometimes expected phone credit in exchange for content. Those amounts were insignificant compared with the damage being done, yet they helped sustain the daily routine. In a grim way, exploitation had become cheap, casual, and routine. Beneath Walwyn's role as an administrator was a darker layer. Digital evidence tied him not only to distribution, but also to direct abuse. Material linked him to acts involving children close to him, including a neighbor and his own nephew. He approached them through familiarity and trust, offering play and attention before crossing physical boundaries. The same pattern that appeared in group discussions appeared in real life. Friendly, ordinary contact became access. Access became abuse. That pattern was not unique to Walwyn. The network depended on the appearance of normality. The adults involved did not need to look threatening. In many cases, their advantage came from appearing gentle, approachable, and safe. A child would not always recognize danger. Families might not see it at first. The abuse often began long before anyone realized what kind of person had entered the child's space. The urgency of the case deepened as the network continued to spread. Around March 2017, an online patrol targeting child sexual content identified the Facebook group and began tracking its activity. Reports from concerned citizens added to the pressure. Mothers who entered the group through fake accounts were shocked by what they found. They saw naked children, infants, and posts discussing abuse with chilling calm. Some took screenshots, gathered evidence, and sounded the alarm after realizing that photos of children from ordinary family accounts could be lifted and consumed inside the group. As outsiders began quietly entering Lolly Candy, they had to move carefully. The administrators expected participation, New members were often required to barter, contribute content, or prove they belonged. Anyone who hesitated risked being removed. To stay inside long enough to map the network, infiltrators needed excuses, delays, and patience. Every day mattered. The easier uncensored files could be reached, the faster the group was growing. One feature of the network made the danger even worse. The external storage sites used by administrators were not heavily shielded. Reaching them required only a few steps. That low barrier helped explain why the group had exploded so quickly. Users did not have to work hard to find the full material. A censored post inside Facebook served as a doorway. After that, direct contact with an admin led to the uncensored version. Wallen made mistakes that exposed him. In one instance, he openly photographed a child from his own neighborhood and shared the image to the group. The picture included a visible license plate, a small detail that helped tie the digital trail to a physical place. Other clues appeared in his Facebook posts. A corner of a building in one image matched the part of the house where he was living. When people in the area mentioned that someone had been looking for him, he reacted online, posting about it in a way that confirmed he had noticed the search. That reaction only narrowed the focus. By then, the core suspects had been identified. There were 4 key figures in separate locations, and the timing of the arrest became critical. The group had already developed shutdown habits. If one person sensed danger, accounts could disappear, devices could be wiped, and evidence could vanish with them. A staggered operation risked losing the entire case. Everything had to happen at once. The arrests were carried out simultaneously. Wallen was taken with several phones, USB drives, and storage devices. Inside them were thousands of files containing child sexual abuse material. The seizures exposed how much data he had held close, even while claiming distance from the worst parts of the group. The same wider operation captured other administrators connected to the network, including a teenage girl who had also been involved in spreading content. What emerged was not a single offender acting alone, but a layered system of adults and young users sustaining each other inside the same digital marketplace. The group itself had formed in September 2016 and had already amassed thousands of members in less than a year. By the time it was dismantled, Lolly Candy had become one of the largest child exploitation cases to surface in Indonesia's online space. Its links stretched beyond the country. The Indonesian group was only one node in a broader web connected through private chats, international affiliations, hidden storage, and share methods. The case also exposed how ordinary family behavior could be exploited. Parents posting photos of children on open social media pages often had no idea those images could be pulled into predatory groups. A harmless picture from vacation, a school outing, or a family event could be taken, circulated, and discussed by strangers. After the network was exposed, many parents locked down their accounts or stopped posting their children entirely. The sense of safety had been shattered. For some people inside the case, the cycle of abuse reached back into childhood. One figure linked to the network had been sexually abused at age 7 by a distant neighbor and kept silent out of fear. That history did not excuse what followed, but revealed how unhealed harm can become part of later violence. When the injured child inside an adult is never protected, the damage can harden into something destructive. In networks like Lolly Candy, that private damage met technology, secrecy, and community. The result was escalation. The wider reality behind the case was grim. Children in Indonesia were vulnerable not only to strangers, but to neighbors, relatives, teachers, and people trusted by their families. Boys as well as girls could become targets. Women as well as men could take part. The old image of danger as something obvious and easily recognized did not fit what this case revealed. The people involved could appear polite, warm, helpful, and calm. They could live next door. They could chat casually with parents. They could move through daily life without drawing attention. That was one of the darkest truths hidden inside Lolly Candy. The network did not survive because its members looked monstrous. It survived because they looked ordinary. They used common platforms, ordinary language, and familiar routines. They built trust, traded access, and hid behind screens. They turned technology meant for connection into a tool for exploitation. When the case finally broke into public view, the shock came not only from the cruelty of the material, but from the number of people involved. Thousands had gathered in one place. Thousands had looked, shared, commented, or helped circulate abuse. The scale forced a brutal conclusion. This was not a fringe corner inhabited by a handful of isolated offenders. It was a system with structure, language, rules, rewards, and growth. Walwyn had once found in the internet a world where he could feel seen. In the end, that search for status, access, and control led him into one of the most disturbing criminal spaces imaginable. He tried to separate himself from the label that followed him. He tried to claim distance, fatigue, confusion, and denial. But the evidence around him told a different story. He had not merely stumbled into a darkroom online. He had helped keep the lights on. The fall of Lolly Candy closed one network, but it did not erase the conditions that allowed it to grow. The methods remained simple. Use coded language. Move from public platforms to private chats. Store files offsite. Demand proof of loyalty. Exploit trust. Target children who cannot fully understand what is happening to them. Rely on silence. Count on shame. Count on delay. Count on adults noticing too late. In that sense, the story did not end with the arrests. It ended with a warning written across every stolen image, every hidden group, and every child use of pleasure or power of others. The danger was never only in the content. It was in the community that formed around it, the ordinary faces inside it, and the ease with which cruelty could spread when no one was looking. Lolly Candy began as a name on a screen. It became a marketplace for child abuse, a network of coded exchanges, and a window into how exploitation adapts to the digital age. Behind the usernames were real children, real homes, real neighborhoods, and real damage. And behind the illusion of private fantasy was the settled truth of harm by the time the group was uncovered. The story it told about Indonesia's online underworld was already impossible to ignore.